Hello and welcome. Assalamu alaikum. You're watching another episode of Lighter Note with me, Umer Khan, and today again we're back with another show and another very special guest that I'm about to introduce. In fact, I'm very excited for today's program because the man I'm about to introduce is such an inspiration, and he's changing lives, with everything that he's done over the years. So without any further delay, let me introduce my very special guest for today. We have with us Mr. Ali Dossa, who is a career counselor. He is life skill level 3 coach, personality dimensions certified level 2 trainer, and currently running and operating a cafe called Cafe Z, which is a very amazing place where you can share ideas and meet like-minded people, something that we always crave for here in Karachi in Pakistan. Plus, he's also he runs a training and counseling practice, and also a yogi. He has a Yoga Alliance certified yoga teacher, and there's so much more about him that we're going to discover today. He's also had experience for the textile industry here in Pakistan as well as in Canada, and he has over a decade of experience working in Canada as a career counselor for Employment Ontario and Ministry of Training and Colleges Canada and IRCC funded program. That's amazing. That's too much for one person. I was talking about Mr. Ali Dossa. Welcome to the show, and I hope you're doing well.
Thank you, Umer. Thank you, and I'm doing great, and I'm really glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for taking out time. I was just wondering while I was giving your introduction, there's so much that you have done in such little time. How do you manage it?
I guess that's a great question, and time is, I suppose it's serendipitous. I mean, we were talking a little bit earlier before the show started about, doing something that you love and finding something in your life which you really are passionate about and you care about.
Right.
I think for me, that's been the key. And when you find that specific thing, everything else just disappears. Work doesn't seem to be work anymore. Work becomes fun. And when you're doing something fun and something that you love, time has very little value. There's always very little time left.
That's the best thing you've shared here, that follow your passion, do what you love, and your work will never feel like work. For example, I love talking and I get paid for talking. So, what else can I ask for? But since you're a life coach, you're a counselor, you give direction to people when it comes to choosing their careers. What made you choose your career? Because you've got a very diversified career when it comes to the textile industry, owning a cafe, being a life coach, being a yogi, so much. So talk us through your journey and how you discovered yourself.
Sure. So I guess for me personally, the awareness of what I wanted to do came in my early 20s. And I was living in Canada at the time, and I took part in an exchange program where I worked in Poland for about almost 4 months, and in Saskatchewan, rural Canada, on a farm for about 4 months. And this was just out of my college, just out of finishing my diploma in business studies at the time. The awakening or the awareness that I wanted to go into the education field came in Poland when I was teaching. And the eureka moment came when I realized that this is something I love.
Wow.
Like my father was an industrialist, and he had a factory here in Karachi. And like often a lot of young people do, I came back to Pakistan after my graduation, and I met with my father. And he was one of those most influential people you'll ever meet. My father was one of the people, he was able to sell ice to Eskimos.
Wow.
He was really a wonderful man. And he told me something. He said, Ali, give me 1 year of your life, work with me in textiles, and I'll train you, I'll teach you something that you will not learn in your MBA, what you'll learn working.
Practical exposure means a lot.
Absolutely, especially in Pakistan, back in early 2000, this was 99, 2000 at that time. So I said, yes, of course, definitely. I mean, I couldn't say no to him. And what that 1 year ended up being about almost a decade, almost till 2007. In 2007, my father chose to retire from textiles, and he retired, and I moved back to Canada. when I moved back to Canada, at that time I realized, okay, listen, I should focus on something which I've always wanted to do, which was to be in the education field, to work with people, to support and to facilitate change.
Right.
And counseling was one of those career paths which had always appealed to me. So I got myself enrolled to George Brown College back in 2008. And I graduated in 2010 as a postgraduate career and work counselor person, and I've been working in that field since then.
Right.
But the truth is, a eureka moment came almost a decade earlier.
Really?
And when I say choose something that you truly love, and I loved working with my father, I would never change that in my life. There's so much I learned working in textiles, working with him. I literally traveled the entire world. There's maybe 2 continents I haven't traveled to, and maybe two continents I haven't done business in. But having said that, I went back to something which I always knew, which was congruent to me, which was teaching, which was education, which was working with people. So that awareness and that sense of knowing that, right? Often you, as a young person, may not have enough confidence in yourself, maybe, or knowledge of the world and others things to act on it. Right. We listen to advice, we follow a lot of times we follow advice from a lot of other sources, but we often don't listen to the inner advice that is in our own mind, the voice or the person who's speaking to us from inside, and that can often be the key.
True.
And like I said, you choose a career, a job that you love, and you'll never have to work on a day of your life.
One thing that you shared, I'd like to highlight that once you travel around the world, you meet different people, you see different sides of the world and different things. You gain a lot of exposure. Your point of view and the way you look at the world, it changes. And that helps a lot when you talk about your training and how you're influencing lives. What we look at in the youth here in Pakistan, they're quite confused, they're lost. So what advice would you give to them? And especially I would like to also talk about the whole personality training that you do as well.
Sure, certainly. So to answer your first question, in terms of being lost at a young age or being lost in our youth, it's a natural thing. It's a very, very natural thing, and there's many reasons for it. So before you can discover yourself, you first have to know that you don't know where you are.
Right.
Acceptance.
Right.
And that's a very normal, healthy place to be. It's a place where you open yourself up to questions, you open yourself up to opportunity, and that's where learning happens. So it's natural for us to feel lost, it's natural for us to question, it's natural for us to wonder and explore. But what often happens is people don't have that opportunity to do that in a constructive, organized manner. They do it, naturally they do it in an ad hoc manner. And, to give you an analogy, it's almost like if you are, shooting basketballs into a hoop. Now, if you are shooting basketballs into a hoop and the basket is close to you, you're close to the basket, you can see the basket, chances are that you'll probably hit the hoop, you'll probably land a basket. But imagine yourself blindfolded. Right. You're blindfolded, you don't know, you just know that you have to keep shooting, you have to keep shooting, you have to keep shooting. So you may hit 1 or 2 baskets, but majority of your baskets may not go through.
Right.
And that's what happens with our youth. So, not everybody is made out to become a doctor. Not everybody is made out to become an engineer. Not everybody is made out to go into business. And if you take everybody and you get all of them together, a large group of people, like 100 young people together, I can guarantee you maybe 10% of them will be able to land a basket, to find that career which is perfect for them. What we have to do is we have to let them shoot at the basket, but practice and not get them blindfolded. Right. It's okay to explore. It's okay to try your hands at different careers when you're young, because that's how you learn.
Right.
And what's happening now with universities like Greenwich University and other universities as well, there is an opportunity to explore other career pathways. There's an opportunity to look at, a business degree can lead to many different career pathways. It's not just going into one specific career, and that freedom to be able to experiment, is really great.
Right.
Now, coming back to your other question about personality dimensions. So, personality dimensions is a psychometric assessment. It's a level B psychometric assessment, and what that means is that it's an assessment that only somebody who's certified to translate or to interpret the level B assessment can help you facilitate it. It's not something a person can do online alone. They have to have someone to work them with it. What assessments like these do is they often give you a clue as to what your desired or suitable career path may be. Now, again, it's not like everybody is different. There is no hard and fast rule. It's not a formula. It's not an equation that you plug it in and a result comes out. But you do get a good, clear idea about your traits, about your characteristics, what you are like, what appeals to you, what doesn't appeal to you, what you enjoy, what you may not enjoy.
Right.
And from there are so many other things that we can explore together as a counselor. That I explore with my clients is about different career pathways. A lot of it is conversation. A lot of it is trial and error. So one of the things that I was very fortunate, because when I was in textiles, I loved being in textiles because it was one of those industries where you're always creating. But what I loved more about textiles than anything else was training people.
I personally enjoy that too.
Yeah, and as a trainer, you gravitate towards that. You're automatically drawn towards that. So it was training people. It was maybe social compliance at that time. There was ISO 9002. I'm talking about the year 2000. So it was a big push towards that. Our factory was JCPenney certified, Sears certified. So there was a lot of international compliances that we had to learn.
Right.
And so I gravitated towards training my staff to follow those compliance rules, to train them on social audits, on training them on quality control and all those things. So my eureka moment had happened a few years ago.
Right.
So that opportunity to practice teaching, and just explore that gave me that clue.
Right.
Had I not done that at that time, I may have never known that my true calling is education or teaching.
At a time in life, there comes a time where you realize, this is the thing. So you mentioned, and you talked about exploration, you mentioned about different fields of education. Now, if you look back 2 to 3 decades, there was only two things in Pakistan, a doctor or an engineer, then came business, and then now, luckily, we are talking about arts, we're talking about becoming chefs, we're talking about becoming musicians. So something is towards the positive side that it's really encouraging that even parents are encouraging their kids to get different degrees. And now when you look at the model world, since we've got such huge exposure, that education is leading towards skill-based learning rather than a whole degree. You specify into a certain skill.
Absolutely.
So how can one explore at a very young age, what exactly is the skill set that should be developed? I'm talking about a kid growing up. How can a parent specify that my kid is really good at this thing and I should, push him or her towards this certain field?
So, there is in-class, there's in-class things that you can do. When I say in-class, in a controlled environment. And there is outside the classroom where you are actually interacting with the world, where things you can do as well. So I'll talk about the in-class stuff first. So one of the things which really helps, especially at your young age, is testing. And this could be aptitude testing, this could be preferences testing, and just some assessments which gauge the strengths and maybe some weaknesses where we all have. So what these do is that they give you a kind of a roadmap. So, so you basically get a result where you see, okay, fine, I have a strong interest in manual dexterity. So using my hands, to create stuff. or I have a strong interest in abstract thinking, or I have a very large, I have a strong interest in creative problem solving.
Right.
So those are clues that a counselor can work with a client and say, okay, fine, these are the kind of careers which you may like. Right. So that's something you can do in a classroom, and it's very textbookish. When I say textbookish, you take a test, you get a result. So it's basically black and white. But the actual test of that is in the real world. When you go out in the real world and you try on a pair of shoes.
Right.
So you're like, I love your shoes, Umer. So you got very nice boots. And I always tell you, I give advice. I always use my father's advice to me, which was, you never buy a pair of shoes till you wear them.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah, and that's totally very true about a career. You have to take a pair of shoes and walk them for a minute or two to see how they feel. Similarly, in a career, you have to have that experience of what it is like.
That's so true, because mostly here in Pakistan, when we look at the society environment and all the culture aspect, the social aspect, a person is led to his career by his family, or by his peers, or by the teachers. They don't choose by themselves. Because as we mentioned earlier, they're confused. So that's a very valid point. One should actually explore and discover their own self, that what they're good at.
Yeah, and that's where internships come into play, volunteer experience come into play, mentorships come into play.
Very true.
So the organization that I run along with the cafe, TSF, we have 5 major functions that we perform.
Right.
Of course, career counseling, corporate training, which includes team building, communication workshops, and various other slew of different workshops. And then we do life skills coaching. But there are 2 services which we will never ever charge for. They will always be free to anybody who wants to use them. The first one is volunteership.
Right.
The second one is mentorship. And the goal of these 2 is to build volunteership basis of standards within organizations.
Right.
So a volunteer in an organization is one of the greatest gifts an organization can receive, and also one of the greatest gifts an organization can give back to society.
Right. That's lovely.
Yeah.
It's actually lovely. So I'd like to ask you that, since you spend a lot of time in Canada and different countries around the world, what difference do you feel when you come back to Pakistan, working here, in the mindsets, in the mentality, and what challenges do you face when you're working in an environment outside of Pakistan than in Pakistan?
So, so I moved back to Pakistan in 2019 after being away for almost 12 years.
Okay.
I left in 2007 and came back in 2019. And a lot of people ask me initially is, why did you come back? Like, everybody wants to go, why did you come back? The truth is that I was here in Karachi, spending some time with my father in 2017 when he wasn't well. And I got a chance to explore the country a little bit. I traveled up north, I went to Balochistan, and I went around the city as well. And I kind of fell in love with Pakistan again.
There are 1,000 reasons to do that.
Yeah,
Pakistan is lovely.
Absolutely. And a lot of them are completely intangible.
And I agree to that.
They're totally intangible. They're a feeling, it's the smell, it's the conversations, it's the people, it's the language, it's the culture, it's the food, it's all of it. But I asked myself, okay, listen, I want to have a life where I can build my life in the next 20, 30 years. And the answer kept coming, hey, you need to go back to Pakistan. Because you can build your life in Canada and it'll be very, I would have had a great life in Canada as well. But the things which were missing in Canada, I found them here. So I wanted to be back.
Of course. So Pakistan does have its
it does, absolutely. It has a magnetic pull which you can't resist.
Wow, wow, that is lovely. And as much as I'm loving this conversation, we're also running out of time, but very quickly I'd like to also touch another part and aspects of your life as well. Where we're talking about counseling, you're also a certified yogi. And that adds on a lot when it comes to stress management, when it comes to having clarity in life. So talk us through the advantages and how you came towards the yoga side.
So yeah, yoga is something which is again very near and dear to my heart, and it's something which what's beautiful about yoga is that you can do yoga anywhere, and anyone can do yoga. You don't have to have a level of fitness or a level of strength to be able to do yoga.
Right.
And what yoga does in its basis is allows you to be present. You know, and when you are present to any given moment, that moment becomes powerful.
Right.
And there's so many benefits to yoga in terms of one's health, in terms of breathing, in terms of one's interaction with others. But just the practice of doing yoga allows you to take a moment for yourself and just be in that moment.
That's the exact point, that once you do yoga, you discover yourself. And we were talking about discovering ourselves when it comes to the career path, but you know, there is this spiritual aspect of life as well. Now, before leaving, one last thing, since you know we were so much deep into conversation regarding the counseling part, I forgot to mention Cafe Z, you know, a wonderful place where you have created all that positive energy and aura for the people, where they can sit and, you know, have a quality time talking to people rather than, you know, using your cell phones.
We do have Wi-Fi.
Yeah, you do have Wi-Fi, but I would rather, you know, sit and talk to people, and that's the environment you've created. Talk us through the whole mindset and mentality behind Cafe Z.
So Cafe Z is an amalgamation of two people. So it's my partner Zareen Khan, who is the chef and also the principal at Cafe Z, and myself. And we both opened up this cafe because for our love of Pakistani food and Pakistani culture and Pakistani cuisine. But my vested interest in the cafe was to create a space where people can come and interact, and you know, a place where artists can come and exhibit art, when musicians can come and perform music, when people like yogis can come and, you know, join me for yoga workshop. And it's a place where we try to welcome everybody. So you know, if you know, from whatever walk of life you are, even if we look at our like we make quality food. We make the kind of food which, you know, you would have at your home, which your mom would cook for you, or your wife.
Something healthier, I would say.
Absolutely. And I am a staunch believer that Pakistani food is incredibly healthy.
It is. It is, unless you sit on a chair all day. In
But
that case, it'll harm you.
And the truth is, it depends on the ingredients that people use, right, and how it's prepared. I'll give you an example. Like I have biryani maybe 5 days a week. I'll have nihari maybe 3 days a week. I'll have dal chawal almost daily. But you know, I'm a regular, you know, rather normal kind of person. I don't think I'm obese. The reason for that is the kind of food, the way it's prepared, is prepared in a healthy, hygienic manner, which is good for the person who's consuming it. And also our prices are pocket friendly. So we made it in a way that any person and everybody can avail healthy meal in a hygienic manner, in an affordable price.
Absolutely. And the best part about that place, I've been there personally, is the ambience. You know, you can, as Ali said, that you can sit there and talk. That's the bestest thing one can do in today's time, where you don't have people to talk to, and then there's a place where you can sit and talk. So Ali, thank you so much. There's so much that we're left, so we'll continue in the future with multiple topics, because these are such deep topics. I'd just like to know, how was your experience here at Lighter Note, and what would you like to say for Greenwich University?
Well, thank you so much, Umer. It was a fantastic experience. It's a great company, a great host. And, you know, when I visited the campus, you know, the first thing which I saw was the amount of activities that are available here, extracurricular activities for students to do. And you know, since we're in Corona, it's a quiet campus today, to start for namaz on a Friday. But you know, there's excitement, there's a buzzness of learning and interaction, which is resident in the walls here. So you know, look forward to those days again, where you know, this place is graced by the human feet, not just virtually.
Definitely, inshallah soon. Thank you so much. And that was our today's episode. You heard Mr. Ali Dossa and all of the wonderful things that he had to talk about, his journey, his experiences, his exposure when it comes to different countries, and especially the things that he highlighted when it comes to the counseling part, the finding your life dimensions, finding your own self, discovering your own self, and when it comes to being fit, eating healthy, finding your spiritual side with the help of yoga. There's so much that we talked about. I really hope that you learned something out of it and you will definitely implement something on it. And that's all for today. Inshallah, you can always give us your feedback in our comment section on Facebook, that is facebook.com/Greenwich University, and on our YouTube channel, that is Greenwich University, Pakistan. We'll be back next time with another guest, another program. Till next time, keep smiling, stay safe, and Pakistan Zindabad.